You reach the check-in table. The air smells like steak and lemon polish. A velvet rope glows ahead. A host says, "Name tag first, please." Today I'll show you why $200,000 invested can feel like the point where the pitches start, and how to protect your plan from expensive help. That just means money you already put to work. Then you see the line, approximate investable assets. So basically money you could hand over to manage. You think, I came for dinner, not a sales pitch. 2 stacks of folders sit there, dark and white. A marker squeaks on a flip chart near the front. At $200,000, a 1% market move is about $2,000. That's enough for normal noise to start steering your choices. So, a normal day can feel like a bonus or a bill. This is where you stop being a guest and start being a target. And help starts coming with a bigger bill. That one question on the sign-in sheet tells you who the product is. And later, there's one question that makes almost every exclusive strategy go quiet. Your pen hovers over the box. You could leave it blank. You can feel the room sizing you up without turning its head. A staffer taps the line with one finger like it's routine. You write a rough number, and his hand slides to the dark folder stack. The couple behind you gets the white one. You and the couple behind you got the same dinner. The room is already telling you that one table is meant to buy more than the other. Nobody explains the difference. Nobody needs to. You just got sorted. You can see it in the seating. Dark folders get walked past the velvet rope. White folders stay near the coffee urn. You hear it in the tone. One table gets serious investors. Another gets great to have you here. And it shows up in the extras. A second booklet lands only on the dark tables. $200,000 is not mansion money. It is just enough to start looking interesting. And interesting gets watched. After $200,000, your balance can start acting like a VIP wristband for salespeople. That just means the number itself changes how they talk to you. This whole room runs on one trick: make you feel chosen, then charge you for the feeling. But there's a catch. That velvet rope isn't protecting your money. It's protecting their ability to charge you more. The rope is there to lower your guard. Chosen people often don't want to ruin the mood with hard questions. So the room nudges you into a role. Be grateful, flattered, easy. Then the plates arrive. A server sets down a steak on a warm plate. Butter runs to the edge. A branded pen lands beside your napkin. And a free consultation card follows it. Now your thinking changes. You stop thinking, why are they asking me that? And start thinking, okay, I should at least hear them out. That feeling isn't just wisdom. It's obligation wearing a nice jacket. When people receive a small favor, it is easier to feel like they should give something back. A classic lab study showed that even an unexpected little gift could increase compliance with a later request. They tested it by having a stranger give some people a small favor, then ask them to buy raffle tickets from him. When someone hands you something, it can be easy to start looking for a way to pay them back. Back at that sign-in table, the steak isn't a simple dinner. It's the first push. Quick thing before I tell you what you could do in that first minute. I'm not a financial advisor, and this isn't personal financial advice. This is education and entertainment based on research and experience in the real world. So, protect the first minute. You can leave the box blank. You can write, "prefer not to say," or ask, "Why do you need that for dinner?" All three do the same job. They make them explain themselves before you start explaining yourself. That matters because the dinner is not free in the way you think. The cost is your openness. The presenter finally steps up. He smiles at the dark tables first and thanks everyone for coming, but he thanks those tables a little longer. Then he writes one number on the flip chart. He circles it twice. Then he writes 1% under it. The room leans in. You lean in too. The presenter taps the marker against the board. 200,000, he says again, like it is a club you finally got into. Then he circles that 1% move. People murmur. You can hear the little calculation happening. $2,000. You think, wait, $2,000 for doing nothing. I can finally breathe. That's the moment the pitch gets dangerous. A good day in the market is not a raise, even if it feels like one. That just means the price of what you own can jump for a day and trick you into treating it like income. The presenter knows that relief can make you softer. So right after the happy math, he starts talking about fewer bad months, better paths, and a front row version of safety. This is what happens after a gain. Rules that felt solid 5 minutes ago start feeling flexible. The trip looks more deserved. A bigger bet sounds more reasonable. And exclusive thing sounds less risky. You would not gamble with rent money, but a lot of people get looser with money that feels newly won. Research on decision-making after wins found that prior gains can make the next risky bet feel easier to accept. They tested it by giving people a win or a loss first, then asking them to choose between safer and riskier options. A win can make the next gamble feel less dangerous, even when it is the same gamble. In that ballroom, the marker squeaks 1%, and your brain starts writing a shopping list. That list may be a purchase, bigger bet, or it may just be a weaker grip on your own rules. That's why presenters love this moment. The math makes you feel bigger before the paperwork asks you to act bigger. That's why the number matters. Not because $2,000 changed your life, because $2,000 changed your mood. And people sell best to moods. So here's the boundary. A good day does not get to rewrite your plan. If you want something, decide from your paycheck. Do not let one good swing appoint itself as income. If your balance jumps, you do not celebrate by getting more experimental. You let the jump be noise until the feeling leaves. When the balance gets loud, the plan has to stay quiet. The presenter wants the happy version of you making long decisions fast. That is why the good news comes before the glossy pitch. The room first makes you feel richer, then it offers to help you act richer. There is a big difference. One is a number on a sheet, the other is a contract. The flip chart gets erased, the slide deck starts, and the lights dim just a little. Then the room changes its voice. A red slide fills the screen. The presenter stops smiling quite as much. He lowers his voice and starts talking about risk and the next rough patch. That just means the chance your money drops before it grows again. You open the dark folder and stare at the balance line. Then you stare again. You think, I knew this could happen. I need to do something. That is the room's favorite feeling. Not panic exactly, urgency. The more often you look, the more every normal wobble can start feeling like a problem you are supposed to solve. Checking feels responsible. In moments like this, it often becomes emotional self-defense. You are not really checking facts. You are checking whether you still feel safe. That is why looking more can make you easier to scare. Benartzi and Thoiler argued that when loss aversion meets frequent portfolio check-ins, long-term investors can end up more defensive than their horizon would suggest. They modeled that idea with simulations that combined frequent evaluation with loss aversion, then asked what kind of investment behavior that mix would imply. If you keep peeking at every wobble, a normal dip can start feeling like danger. Same steak smell, one scary slide, and suddenly you want a seatbelt for your money. Now the pitch lands. Protection, buffers, ways to sleep at night. You can hear what the room is doing. It is taking a feeling that would probably pass tomorrow and turning it into a product decision tonight. That is why constant balance checking is not a harmless habit when the number gets bigger. Every check becomes a tiny verdict. Up means you are smart. Down means you need a fix. So, your first defense is boring. Choose your check and rhythm before the scary day shows up. For example, you look monthly or quarterly. You do not let every headline drag your hand to the app. Turn off the alerts that convert normal noise into alarms. Then give the urge to act a waiting room. Write down what you want to do. Do not do it yet. Read it again on your next planned check-in day. By then, the slide will be gone. Their voice will be gone. Your own voice gets a better chance. Because most of the damage here does not start with a crash. It starts with too much staring. The presenter clicks again. Then he tells you to turn to the back of the folder. There it is. A clean page, calm colors, friendly font, one small line that says annual fee. That just means they take a slice of your money every year you stay. You feel yourself shrug. It sounds tiny. It sounds like the price of being taken care of. That is exactly why the line is printed that way. Once the balance gets big enough, a small percentage stops feeling small in real life, but it can still sound small in language. If someone gets paid every year forever, they do not need you to lose. They just need you to remain. That is why the sign-in sheet asked what it asked. It did not ask because dinner needed your number. It asked because the fee page does. The amount tells them how much that yearly slice could grow into. A tiny slice sounds harmless on a glossy page. Over time, it behaves like a silent partner who keeps taking a cut while you do all the waiting. Morningstar research found expense ratios were a strong predictor of future fund success, with cheaper funds more likely to survive and outperform than pricier peers. They compared cheaper and pricier funds, then checked which were more likely to hold up and beat their category later. The bill you barely notice can be the bill that matters most. Flip the folder to the fee page. That's where the velvet rope gets paid. Now, the loop from the sign, in sheet, closes. That little box tells them how much a small annual fee can turn into if you stay for years. And this is where polite language does the dirty work. Full service, guidance, white glove, ongoing support. All of it is trying to keep you in the feeling because feelings are much easier to defend than prices. So pull the price back into daylight. Ask them to say the fee in dollars for your account size, not just as a percent. Then ask what that dollar amount becomes if your money grows and nothing about the service changes. If they keep dragging you back to percentages, they are hoping you stay in fog. Nobody wants to be the person who turns a nice dinner into arithmetic. Be that person anyway, because the front row feeling is not the value. The fee page is the value test. The presenter starts using words like sophisticated and premium. That is the moment to get plainer, not fancier. How much per year? What do I get? What happens if I leave? The next handout makes those questions even more necessary. The handout has arrows, footnotes, exceptions, and a paragraph full of unless. A man in a blazer says, "This is an institutional style approach." He says it slowly, like the slowness itself proves value. You lean closer because not understanding it feels childish. You think, I do not fully get it, but it sounds like grown-up investing. That reaction is the opening. When the pricing gets harder to compare, confidence in the seller can start replacing clarity in the deal. That is good for the person selling. But there's a catch. The fee you can see is rarely the whole price you pay. Sometimes the extra price is a cap on how much of the gains you get to keep. Sometimes it is a penalty for leaving, and sometimes it is the way one special solution quietly hands you into the next one. The point is not that every complicated product is bad. The point is that confusion helps the seller long before it helps you. A finance paper on retail markets modeled how firms can benefit when prices are harder to compare, because complexity can keep some buyers uninformed and weaken price pressure. He tested that idea with a market model where firms could choose how confusing to make prices, then examined what happened to buyer comparison and what people ended up paying. If you cannot compare it fast, you cannot protect yourself fast. In that ballroom, the math gets harder exactly when the deal gets better for them. That is why exclusive is such a useful word in rooms like this. Exclusive does not have to mean better. It just has to mean harder to compare. Once something is hard to compare, you start leaning on status instead of understanding. The dark folder helps that happen. So does the rope. The stake helps too. The whole room is a confidence machine. It tells you that hesitation is amateur. It tells you that fast agreement is what serious people do. No. Serious people slow the room down. If you cannot explain what you are buying in plain English, you are not ready to buy it. Picture the parking lot later. You are under a yellow light, folder half open, trying to explain the product to yourself without using their words. If you hear yourself saying, "I think it sort of works like this," you wait. Good deals survive plain English. Bad deals need velvet rope lighting. Subscribe if you want more of these translated into plain English. That is usually where the expensive part finally shows up. The presenter stops pacing. He starts walking the aisles with a clipboard. The closer he gets, the nicer his voice sounds. He stops at your chair. He points to a signature line with the pen already uncapped. "If you enroll tonight, we can reserve this," he says. Reserve. That just means they want the pressure to do the selling before you get distance. He places the pen in your hand. You think, I do not want to be rude. Maybe I should just do it and sort it out later. That is the moment to stop relying on how brave you feel. A prepared sentence works better than a strong mood. Research on if-then planning found that people follow through more reliably when they decide in advance what they will do in a specific situation, instead of hoping they will be strong when the pressure arrives. They tested that by reviewing many studies where one group made a specific if-then plan and another group just had the goal. When you decide the sentence ahead of time, you are harder to talk out of it in the moment. When the pen hits your hand in that room, you already know what you're going to say. So, write the line before the dinner, not during it. "I never sign in the room, send it to me." Or, "I only make changes at home." Or, "If it is still good next week, it will still be good after I sleep on it." Pick one, keep it short, use the same line every time, then pair the line with a body move. Put the pen down, close the folder, stand up a little in your seat if you need to. Your body can end a sales conversation faster than your mouth. And here is the single question that makes almost every exclusive strategy go quiet. Can you write down exactly how you get paid in plain English on this page? Then stop talking. Silence matters here. Most bad decisions speed up because the buyer starts filling the quiet with excuses for the seller. That question forces the room to leave status and enter details. It turns premium into measurable. It turns polished into comparable. If they answer clearly, fine. Take the paperwork home. If they dodge, charm, or keep widening the story, you already learned the important part. This is not about being suspicious of everybody. It is about refusing to make long decisions inside a short pressure window. And that is a rule that gets more valuable as your balance gets louder. Because once the number feels important, politeness gets expensive. People do not usually lose control here because they are foolish. They lose control because the room is warm, the ask is soft, and the yes feels socially easier than the no. A pre-written line fixes that. The presenter reads your face. He can tell when the script stopped working. That is why he smiles even harder. Smiles are cheap. Signatures are not. He moves on to the next dark folder. Chairs scrape. Dessert plates disappear. People start drifting toward the rope with their folders still open. You stand too. For a second, you feel the tug. If I am this close, maybe I should be doing something smarter. That thought sounds ambitious. It is often just anxiety in nicer clothes. But there's a catch. Right when compounding finally starts to feel real, that's when the urge to grab the wheel can get strongest. That just means your gains start earning gains, and the pile begins to grow with less help from you. That is exactly when cleverness starts looking irresistible. The number is finally big enough to make you feel like every choice must be sophisticated. But after $200,000, the best thing is usually not a new trick. It is a quieter routine. The real threat here is not only a bad product, it is the urge to tinker every time your balance gets emotional. So, when you walk past the rope, make the next step boring on purpose. Set your own default. That just means the automatic path that happens unless you interrupt it. For example, you schedule the same transfer into your account every month. You choose the day once, then the day keeps choosing for you. And add one reminder that says, you do not change your plan in a hot week. The reminder is not there to teach you anything. It is there to interrupt your mood. You also choose when plan changes are allowed. Maybe once or twice a year, maybe only after a written review. Research on retirement plans found that when participation was made automatic, many people stuck with the default instead of making active changes. They tested that by comparing worker behavior before and after a company started signing people up automatically. Whatever you said is the easy path is what many people will keep doing. Walking out past that velvet rope. The win is that you didn't sign anything. That is the whole point of this milestone. Not that you are rich enough for better marketing, that you are finally close enough for consistency to matter more than cleverness. So close the folder in the parking lot. Go home, put the paperwork on a table that does not smell like steak. Read it in daylight. If it still makes sense when the room is gone, maybe it deserves a second look. If it only worked under the chandelier, it was never built for you. Then keep the plan plain. When your balance starts yelling, your routine should barely whisper. You do not need a new identity at $200,000. You do not need a darker folder, and you do not need a rope. You need fewer moments where someone else gets to borrow your emotions and bill you for the privilege. So, enjoy the dinner if you want. Thank them for the meal. Leave with your money. The front row feeling is rented. Your plan is the thing you keep.